Good day, fellow champions of inclusion. I am Aaron, and this is the Inclusive Dad podcast where we explore inclusion and make it practical. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join me in exploring ways we can create a more inclusive world together. You are important, you matter, and you can make a difference. Today, my guest is Scott Gutentag, and I didn't ask you your name, how to pronounce it ahead of time, so was that close?
That's right. That's right on.
Okay. Well, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good to be here. Thank you.
Yeah. Why don't you just start us off by just telling us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I'm a licensed educational psychologist, and I have been so for many years, probably about 30 years now, working with individuals with various disabilities, assessment and intervention, consultation, trainings. And I'm also a photographer. And so about 10 years ago, I decided to meld the two professions together and photographing really anybody, all human beings, and with a niche on including individuals with disabilities, their families, and individuals and couples. And so, kind of blending my psychology mind with my photography creative mind and telling their stories through photography. And so that's what I've been doing for a number of years.
It's very interesting. Thank you. Let's start off. What is your definition of inclusion?
Yeah. So I guess what I see as inclusion and being in the field, I know there are different takes on it and variations, but what I see it as accessibility, and so including all human beings regardless of their individual differences, and so not so much about getting more than another person, but really level the playing field. Which is why we have cut curbs, so allowing individuals with mobility challenges and wheelchairs to access their environment. So it's not giving more, but to access environment, elevators, lane lines. We all have supports to allow us to engage in our community. And certainly those with more challenges need maybe more specific supports to simply to have equal opportunities. And what they do with that opportunity is up to themselves. And but just to include all human beings specific to other differences.
Yeah, I love that. So yeah, we talked a little bit about uh me before we started, but yeah, I have a daughter, Cecilia. She's 23. Growing up, I don't ever remember the word disability being used or, seeing anybody in a wheelchair. I went to a private Christian school, kindergarten through 8th grade, and when I went to high school, I don't remember like hearing the word special education, and now I wonder if I heard it, but I just didn't have the connection, so I don't remember it. But so when my daughter was born, just it was all new to us, so we just I kind of went along with what the school said. And for my daughter, she qualified under severely multiply impaired. I'm on the IEPs here in Minnesota, so that meant she had a lot of needs. I mean, we had, I don't know, 75 to 100-page evaluation reports and 50-page IEPs, so had a lot of people involved. And so she got sent to a self-contained classroom right away. I went there early on and saw their kids in that kindergarten, first grade range folding towels already, and I was like, hold on a second, why are we already doing that when aren't there in math and reading? And found out about inclusion. That kind of set me down my path to inclusion. And once I don't know about you, but growing up, I kind of had this, and I don't know where it comes from. Like doctors or teachers or certain professions, you just didn't really question them. I don't know where it came from, but I just kind of had that thought. And once nope, they're just human. I can ask questions, and then kind of led me down that path. So yeah, we've had some interesting stories in school for sure.
Yeah, no, I'm sure, and I think one of the goals is to really instead of separating people, including all people, and how we could
Yep.
learn from each other. So the other
Right.
spirit of inclusion instead of oh, that's that person, that's this
Yep.
person. No, we're all human beings, and how can we
Yeah.
engage together? Yeah,
So yeah, it's been an interesting journey. The other thing is I'm male, I'm a guy, and I just the rooms that where I've gone to, like, talk about inclusion or school stuff, it's heavily female, which has been interesting for me too. Like, I mean,
hmm
most IEP teams I've been involved with, or most conferences, it's heavily on the female side, so it's been interesting, that
sure,
part of it for me also.
right.
Yeah,
It's definitely an experience, the special education process.
yeah. So what I mean, like, growing up, do you remember I mean, what is your experience with disability or, growing up? Did you know anybody or
Not no. um,
okay.
I think school wasn't always easy for me. In fact, many times it was really hard. And I think I learned from my parents just to never give up, to persist no matter what the challenge is. And my dad would use phrases like, I don't understand the word can't, just do the best you can, and we'll be proud of you. And so I guess personally, that's always been my experience is that, not things weren't really easy. And then
Mm.
later on in college, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And there was this professor, her area of research where it was ADHD, specifically peer relationships. And this was the very early 90s, very late 80s, early 90s. And that sounded really interesting to me. Kiddos with challenges and how to help support and engage them and really help them. So really taking on that challenge and helping others. So I guess I got that from early childhood and then applying it to kiddos. And then over time, it evolved where a more involved the individual was, more of a severe disability they had, perhaps more of a behavior challenge they had, more interested I was to try to problem solve, figure it out, work with the parents. And it just kind of evolved over the years, about that, just really kind of figure out that puzzle and supporting them.
Yeah, that's great. When did you start getting into photography?
When I was 10 years old.
Okay.
So about 47 years ago, my dad had his all manual Zeiss camera and we would go on summer vacations, nature and outdoors. We weren't really into cities. And so I pressed the shutter button and I don't know, when I did that, it was just like this power of like, wow, I created this image or caught this image. Back then, of course, it wasn't digital. We had to wait, to get the film back for about 2 or 3 weeks. And it was just really fascinating to me because I'd always been an introvert and I like really observing and seeing and absorbing things. And photography was a great medium for that to really see things that go unnoticed. And that's what I always to try to get something different. So I always played around with that as a kid. And then about 2015, I thought, well, let me start a business, and with children and families and then specializing in those with disabilities. And where they typically wouldn't get a portrait shot, like neurotypical individuals. And that's the feedback I'll get from parents that this was the most stressful time. They couldn't find a photographer. They just want a really respectful photo to put in their house. And I was just seemed very powerful to me. And so that's where I kind of developed that into a business and still creating something that may go unseen through the power of photography and getting really respectful shot and really engaging individuals so they feel really happy and calm. So when they look at that image, it stimulates that part of the brain that makes them feel happy again, and that just was really powerful for me. So like the career of psychology, the career of photography kind of evolved into that of but really that keen observation and telling a story was always there that I was always interested in.
Yeah, so have you always done like like portrait photography with humans, or did you start out with
No,
like nature, or what did you?
yeah, it's really nature. Yeah, yeah. I started with nature and did a lot of nature photography and just being in one spot for maybe an hour. And it was very meditative to me. It was very therapeutic and quiet. And so I really enjoyed that. And I still enjoy nature photography. And then that's where I decided to kind of build that portrait side, that people side of photography, and very different, obviously, from nature. But but the consistent theme is telling a story and informing and sometimes maybe educating and me learning all the time. Just it's like, wow, I didn't know that, or that's interesting. Oh, what could this image catch? So yeah, no matter the medium, it was really exciting to me. I've done even I was hired to do a photography for flowers for marketing, and that was really fun. Like how to get this really beautiful shot that tells a story of these flowers of how it could really make your day, for instance.
It's interesting. I like going for. We have a what's it like a park, the nature center close by, and they have trails. So I like to go out there and go for walks. And like in the early morning, I like doing it, like the sun coming up, and then like if you sit in a certain same spot for a while, you like see how the sun's like hitting stuff differently. It's interesting when you like pay attention and slow down and like, wow, the sun's hitting it this way right now, but like in a little bit, it's in like 5 more minutes, it looks differently, or the shadows and stuff. It's kind of interesting when you just like slow down and pay attention and look at a tree and the bark. And sometimes the bark like has a really cool pattern. It's like, wow, that looks like whatever. And you're like, if you're just walking and not paying attention, you don't notice those things. So
I
I like
and
that.
that's a great I think that's a great, aspect of photography, what you just said, slowing down
Yep,
paying attention, seeing the differences, and I think that's the power of photography because we're so quick in life, right? And just snapshots
yeah,
and moving, we go, things go unnoticed. But the beauty that you mentioned, right? The shadowing, the lighting of
yep,
the bark, and the nature, and just really incredible things out there that go unnoticed. But photography allows us to, like you said, slow down and
yeah.
notice them.
Yeah, or like what I like too is where there's dew in the morning, where like a little drop of water is like hanging from a plant, and it's like, how is it sitting there? Like, how is it not like dripping? And all like it's just the tension and stuff, like trying to. It's interesting.
Beautiful. Yeah,
Yeah,
and then just capturing that on the photo. It's no, I agree. It's incredible, and that's a great time to shoot, right? Early in the
yeah,
morning, late in the evening, and then take a nap in the
right,
daytime. Right?
yeah. Well, plus like it. I mean, I don't know if you ever get frustrated, but like sometimes it's like I see it and I take it. I mean, I've been using my phone, so I take a picture, and but it's like you look at it, it's like, man, that just does not look as good as like just to my naked eye. Do you ever have that when it's like, man, this does I can't get it the picture like how I want it to look, kind of?
The eye sees a lot more than the camera does,
Yeah,
and I think that's what people think. You get a really fancy, expensive camera, and you're going to get a great shot. It's just a machine, but no, there's
right,
nothing like you're right. There's nothing like the eye
right,
because we see so many different more shades and
right.
layers that the camera does. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, plus like the phone now has so much AI stuff to it, and like it, okay, you take a picture, and all of a sudden it's like that sky color is not what the
yeah.
sky looks like right now. It's like,
I
so
know.
it's like, yeah, it looks way bluer than it looks right there. So
That's
it does
right.
some weird stuff. So
That's right. Now, yeah.
do you prefer, I mean, do you like film? I mean, what would be your preference
Yeah.
if you could choose, like film or digital or what?
Slides. Yeah. So, I used to shoot in slides and before, and I just love the quality of it. There's so much data in the slide. And it's just noticeably different. So I would shoot with Velvia back in the day, which is a super saturated color, and it wasn't like an AI, visual, but it was just very. I like kind of intense and drama, and it was just very accurate and very clear. It was very dimensional. Digital definitely has its benefits, absolutely, but I don't know, my personal preference, I always enjoyed, the slides. You waste some
Interesting.
slides because you don't always know what you're getting, but I think that's the interesting part of, um, you really need to know photography, because
Yeah,
you can't view it all the time, right? You gotta really know the settings and the setup and the
yeah,
composition rather than just shooting 1,000 and, well,
right.
I'll get what I get. But, I think everything has benefits, but in terms of the quality, I really love the slides version.
Yeah. Forgot about slides. When
Remember the
you
slides?
get put them
Yeah.
all in the roll thing and you stick it on
Yeah.
there and flip through 'em.
Yep, and even when I took it to a lab and they converted to the print, it converted to prints very nicely because, like I said, there's so much data in there, and it just translates into prints really, I mean, large prints very nicely. So that was always my number one.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't take pictures of, like, people, so, like, how can you maybe describe, like, when you're taking pictures of your clients? I mean, how do you is it similar to, like, nature when you're looking at them, you just, like, different, views, stories come to mind on how to take the picture, or maybe explain a little bit of that?
Yeah, no, that was an interesting question because when I transitioned or added portrait photography to my nature photography that I always did, I thought, well, let me do it the same way as I shoot nature photography and, just kind of wait, let it unfold. But what I found is that it can be very uncomfortable being in front of the camera, and they need direction. And so what I found over time in taking courses and experimenting is just really having a conversation, having fun with the individuals. So their discomforts may go down. They feel comfortable, get more natural shots, and so it was a little bit different. Whereas nature photography is more of a being quiet, waiting, see what nature gave to me. Whereas portrait photography, I had to really create it. I had to create it with the people and taking breaks. And so it was a very different process, both telling stories and being creative, but as a more directive and really following their lead and getting into their world. So it's
Yeah.
similar but different. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense for sure, yeah, because 'cause I'm thinking back when I've been in a position where I've had, like, professional pictures taken, yeah, and there's a lot of, like, turn your head and yeah, that stuff, so, yeah, if all of a sudden it was just you're sitting there and nobody was telling me what to do, I'd probably be wondering what's happening.
That's right. And the statement, if it feels weird, it looks great. because there are some positions one does not think of that we may do naturally, but we don't think about. So
Oh,
when we put them in that position, now they're thinking about it, but it could look pretty cool sometimes.
yeah,
Or sometimes I just follow their lead and I say nothing because what they're doing with their mannerisms is just fantastic. So I may be
yeah,
quiet, but I'm telling them if I'm quiet, it's fine. I'm just capturing what I see, and then I'll
okay.
come back into the so-called picture and direct them in different manners.
Yeah, and as you were talking, like, I mean, do you get, like, more of a true picture in that of them, like, of their who they are maybe? Because 'Cause you're not, like, telling them specific things, if they're just naturally doing their own thing, do you feel like you capture, like, a more genuine picture?
Yes and no. I think that allows me to help guide them further. So, for instance, everybody has a particular smile. So, when they just naturally smile on their own, some people are kind of tooth smilers and closed smilers, or maybe not much of a smiler at all. And so, based on what I see them do naturally, then that's how I direct them. So, if they're not a big tooth smiler, I'm not going to direct them to tooth smile because that's not natural, and or if they want a really kind of serious dramatic look, then I may go more with that. So I start with that, and then I work that in, because sometimes just totally so-called natural shots, it's kind of like watching a TV show and you pause it and you see them frozen. It doesn't look too complimentary, So a true natural shot may not be what someone wants. They think they do, but not really. But again, I start with where their natural expressions are, and I work that in. So it makes sense for them, that individual.
Yeah, that's interesting. Um, so then you also have another reason I wanted to have you on is you have, like, a documentary film it's probably called. Do you wanna talk about that or how that came about?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah. So the documentary short, it's about 8.5 minutes, called Disability in Focus. And I was posting probably, well, for years, I'm posting images of my photo shoots with individuals with disabilities. People were saying, "Oh, you should make a documentary. You should write a book." I had no idea how that worked. I had no connections. I'm just a guy with a psych degree and a camera. And then this person, Peggy MacArthur, she contacted me, and she's a photographer and an educator, and she used to do that many years ago. And so she was very excited. So we met, and I told her what had been told to me, and she said, "Oh, well, she knows filmmakers. They have produced films." She'll talk to her husband, Merrick, who's an actor and movie maker, and also Alan Wasserman, who's been in the film industry for many years. And they're all interested in making a documentary. And so we talked about it. And then, yeah, so it was just it kind of came out naturally and organically. The point, basically, what Alan heard and saw was that let this story be kind of about you and your process of telling the stories of people with disabilities through photography. And so I chose clients who I worked with before, if they were interested in doing this, and we would do a shoot. I would interview them, they would talk, and just kind of see the process of telling their stories and really learning about who they are as people, instead of just, oh, disability. Okay, well, they're human beings, yes, with a disability, but who are they? What are their challenges? What are their strengths? And participating in something that everybody else can participate in. So it's an interesting blend of photography, psychology, family, individuality, disabilities, challenges, and successes. And so we had about five individuals and families, and they're just little tiny snippets. And so then we brought it out, we rolled it out into film festivals. See, it was it last year? Yeah, last year through this year, and it was very well received. And so it won. We were very fortunate for it to have won different awards and to be recognized. And but my greatest interest was really showing it, talking about it, answering questions, learning. And so it's a really fun and interesting process. So I was really fortunate to be around these incredible filmmakers and musicians who wanted to participate in this project.
It's great. What was, like, what was, like, the most challenging part of making a documentary?
It went really smoothly. I was really happy, because they really coached me when I did voiceovers. Alan would coach me of kind of how to say it and present it, and so I do a lot of trainings. But that modality is very different than doing something on film. Um, I don't know if there's challenges. Everybody just stepped up and did their job and was supportive. And I, yeah, it was a really great experience. And the families were fantastic. So yeah, I can't think of a challenge really.
That's good.
Yeah,
I
yeah, I'm
mean,
very fortunate.
you said it was like it's like 8 or 8.5 minutes long or something?
Yeah, 8.5 minutes. Yes.
So, like,
Yeah.
how many hours do you think of, like, all the process that it take to get to, to that 8 minute, eight and a
Oh
half
yeah.
minute film?
No, probably each shoot was about an hour to an hour and a half, and then the one of the cinematographers, Mike, he interviewed me, and that was probably about an hour or so, hour and a half. It was pretty efficient, actually. It was really nice. Um, so 5, 6, probably about a total of maybe 8 hours, and that then our editor, edited it into 8.5 minutes.
It's not too bad. I thought you were
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
say, like, 60 hours of recording or something.
I know.
That is really efficient.
Yeah,
That's
no, it
good.
was pretty efficient. Yeah, so it was really nice. And like this, they didn't prepare me like for the interview. It was just what's natural, what comes out. And they had a direction, which was really nice instead of just all over the place. So no, they knew what they were doing. It was really focused, very professional, very supportive. Like I said, the shoots weren't overly long. Like I said, hour and a half, with some interview. I think the longest one may have been 2 hours, talking to the parents, but, yeah, that was about it.
Then you said, have you been able to go in person to some film festivals where they viewed it and then be able to answer questions or talk?
Yeah, that's been really
Okay.
fun. So there've been, yeah, several film festivals showing on the big screen, which is really cool. It's like, wow, what would this look like on a big screen? I'm a very modest person, so to see me up there was, took some adjustment, but it was fun. And then some of the festivals had Q&A, so they brought the either the directors up or anyone involved in the film process, and audience would ask us questions. A moderator would ask us questions. So I probably had an opportunity to do that maybe on 3 occasions or so forth. There are some online versions, on, and yeah, so I really enjoyed that, just engaging with the audience.
Yeah, that's great. I live in Southern Minnesota, and there's, a film festival I've gone to the last 2 years called the Rare by Design Film Festival. It's in, Sioux Falls, South Dakota. So middle of the country, and it's interesting. Yeah, it's fun to watch the films. There's been, I think, maybe 2 or 3 of the films that we would view where the creator was there in person. A lot of them just send in videos since it's in the middle of South Dakota. But it is an interesting.
Yeah,
I mean, I've never been to one before. It's an interesting, um, time. It's cool to see, like, the different or how they pick different ones, and they're not all the same, and they're, different people's perspectives. Some are, like, really short, like, I don't know, like, a couple minutes long, some are, half hour. It's kind of interesting to see, like, the creative process or how people tell stories and stuff.
that's right. That's the thing with film festivals because especially the independent films, these are ones we typically are won't see at all on the big screen or the movie theater. So yeah, it's interesting to see all the different creativity and the different visions, and that's what I was struck by at these festivals, just the variety of films and perspective and ideas. And like you said, it could be as short as 2 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes. Sometimes they're feature length, and just the cinematography and how they did the art was just really really interesting process, and also the opportunity to talk to each other, about each other's films and the process and feedback. Was a fun experience.
I mean, how many, film festivals did you apply for, do you think? A
Yeah,
lot?
applied for a little over 100 film festivals. Yeah, around the country, several parts of the world, and yeah, it got into a variety of areas. So it was, yeah, and some of them were very specific types of festivals. Some of them were more general festivals. So yeah, it was a real range.
And I remember talking to the organizer of this one, and she said, like, the first I don't remember the number, but it was hundreds of submissions, like, they had to go through. She's like,
Yes.
"The second year, we're gonna put all the new parameters on it because we watched a lot of films." She's like the first one trying to figure out which ones to bring in, so it's
That's
interesting.
hard. Yeah, because you're right, and they have to watch them, and it's a lot of time intensive going into that.
Yeah, that's great. Do you have any plans to, like, do any more, or what's up next for you?
Yeah, so for this, yeah, I'd love to take it to the next step. It would be interesting if there was a limited series, for it on a streaming source and like the American portraits and the variety and telling their stories, and kind of expand it. So I'm not sure I'll go in it just an idea. Just have to make connections, along those angles because again, the film industry is not my niche, my thing. So just kind of meeting people and getting ideas about that. But regardless, want to continue the photography for again all human beings and specifically those with disabilities. Events I photograph the special needs prom that's done every year, which
Mm,
is a blast. Adults with disabilities, and it's just so excited and just natural enjoyment. It's no alcohol, no drugs, just being themselves and just really
right.
wonderful and capturing other photos. So I really enjoy things like that as well. So that always those different opportunities to look forward to.
Have you come across any other photographers that, you know, have it kind of as a specialty to,
Mhm.
take pictures of people with disabilities or families and stuff like that?
I have, yeah. I
Okay.
I I met some. I've come across some. It's a variety. Some photographers include it in their whole portfolio, so it's not their main, niche. But and others where they're doing a little bit more of it, and a lot of them are really phenomenal. It's a smaller community, obviously, so harder to find. But there are out there, and that's why I like to learn. Okay, who's out there? What are they doing? What's their focus? And I try to connect with them sometimes if I can.
That's great. What is one tip you can share to help our listeners be more inclusive today? So just something everybody can start doing today to be more inclusive.
Yeah, I think being more aware, out there of, the little things, like if the sidewalk is uneven, thinking about, well, if a person is blind, do you think they can really, access and be included in getting to their job? For individual disabilities, advocate. And it's not so much, oh, I want to excel, but really educating and informing perhaps cities that what they may not be aware of. I think a lot of times people don't know what they don't know, and if we see something, maybe communicate that to the city and to increase more inclusion, accessibility, including all people, so people don't have to stay at home because that's too hard, to get out there. To always continue to work and evolve and include all human beings. As my dad said, we're all skin and bones, right? But we're different and unique, but we're all human beings. So let's include and involve and learn from everybody.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, so I've been with my partner for around 4 years now, and she talks about like the awareness piece. Like she knew there was the Americans with Disability Act, but until she was around, like my daughter, she didn't realize about how much stuff is still not accessible. So yeah, the awareness once like if you're not aware, you don't talk about it. That's one of the reasons I talk about stuff is because people just don't. I mean, I didn't know anything about this, disability, anything until my daughter was born. So yeah, the awareness piece is huge. I'm staring out my window. I live in Minnesota, and people, if you don't, the person with the curb the curb cut on their property doesn't shovel that snow out of the way. I'm looking out at snow piles now in the corners. Like my daughter in an electric wheelchair can't get through that. So you need to bring up things like that, or that's why it's important in Minnesota to get your sidewalk shoveled because, well, not just for her, but it's not safe anyway, I guess. So
No, well, that's a great point because, folks who are very 100% mobile say, oh, I'll just walk around it. Well, but like you said, your daughter in a wheelchair can't go out now, or can't use that area. And like you said,
well,
it's
yeah.
not, yeah,
And I mean, they don't design electric wheelchairs to be able to get through that stuff. If there's anything on the ground, they're not built for like how much rubber's on the ground to be able to have traction. They're not designed well for that stuff,
sure. And hopefully they'll keep improving that, the
right?
technology as well.
For sure. Where's the best place for everybody to connect with you?
So let's see. Probably the best is to be my website and email. It's the same. It's my name. It's www.scottgutentag.com. And my email is scott@scottgutentag.com.
Thank you so much. You ready for the last question?
I'm ready.
Do you like spam lunch meat? Yes or no?
I've actually never tried it, so I don't know.
Never tried it. You don't
No.
know. Yeah, it's a funny question. I live near Austin, Minnesota, where they make spam and where the spam museum's located. So I've been asking everybody just to see what their reaction is.
Really, I
Usually
had
it's a
no idea.
fast yes, fast no, or I haven't had it. That's like the three.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't want to say I don't like it. I've never had it, so I may love it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. But yeah, it's interesting. It's just, yeah, the Austin. I say I live near Austin and they're like, Austin, Texas. I'm like, no, the other Austin,
It's
Austin,
other
Minnesota.
Austin, yeah. That's why I was
Less,
kind
I
of
mean,
like,
it's, I
that,
say
that,
less, I say less famous, but it brings like 100,000 people a year into town of like 27,000 the museum does. So it brings a lot of people in. So yeah.
yeah, wow. So big tourist. Well, it's like Pasadena, California, and Pasadena, Texas. So I see Pasadena.
Okay.
Sometimes I Google Pasadena, it brings me to Texas. So I thought, oh no, back to California.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Aaron, for this opportunity. Had a great time, and thank you for what you're doing, informing and
Thank you.
educating.
To those listening, thank you for allowing me to be part of your journey. It is truly an honor. Please join the podcast newsletter by clicking on the link in the episode description to keep up with the latest episodes. Together, we can make the world more inclusive. Until next time, stay empowered and be a champion for inclusion.